大家好，我是音如。Hi everyone, I'm Yinru. In this lesson, we'll talk about how to make comparisons in Chinese. Comparing two things is easy and straightforward in Chinese. There is no change of word form, and there is one pattern that's always safe to use. Let's say you're comparing two places, place 1 and place 2. Here is how you do it. Place 1, 比, place 2, adjective. Okay, the key word in this pattern is 比. 比 means compared with. So the literal translation of this pattern is place 1 compared with place 2, adjective. Or in English you would say place 1 is more adjective than place 2. So remember to put the two things you're comparing on each side of 比. And the one who wins, the one who is more adjective, goes first. And followed by 比, which is followed by place 2. And directly after that, there's nothing in between. Use adjective. Okay, so again, the pattern is place 1, 比, place 2, adjective. That's it. So let's look at some examples. For example, you are comparing two Chinese cities. Okay, so in place 1, we use Chengdu. Chengdu is a city in the southwest part of China with all the spicy food. Okay, and place 2, we use Xi'an. Xi'an is in the northwest part of China with the terracotta soldiers. So if I say 成都比西安大, I mean Chengdu is bigger than Xi'an. 成都比西安大. All right, let's compare two cities outside China. Okay, so in the second simple sentence, place 1, we use 西雅图. 西雅图 is Seattle. Okay, and in place 2, we have 伦敦. 伦敦 is London. Okay, so far we know we're comparing Seattle with London, and Seattle apparently is more certain adjective than London. So what is that adjective? 雨水多. Well, technically speaking, 雨水多 is more of an adjective phrase. 雨水 means rain water or rain, and 多 means a lot. So 雨水多 means lots of rain or rainy. Okay, so 西雅图比伦敦雨水多 means Seattle is more rainy than London. Okay, 西雅图比伦敦雨水多. Now you should understand this pattern better, and you will be more happy to know that this pattern is not only limited to two places. Okay, you can use this pattern to compare any two things by using A, B, B, adjective. Okay, A is more adjective than B. So there you have it, a very common, useful, and fundamental pattern to make any comparisons in Chinese. Next, you're going to hear a dialogue between two friends. One is asking the other about his hometown. So while listening, I want you to pay attention to how the second person describes his hometown. Ready? 唐山小吗？唐山比北京小。Okay, once more, a bit slower. 唐山小吗？唐山比北京小. Okay, did you take note of how the comparison was made? Let's go over this dialogue line by line. The first line is 唐山, apparently it's a city name. 唐山小吗 is a question meaning, is Tangshan small? Is Tangshan small? So, while the second person first thought about it and made a thinking noise, which could translate to well. And then he made this comparison. 唐山比北京小, which means Tangshan is smaller than Beijing. Okay, let's just use TS for Tangshan is smaller than Beijing. Okay, so that's actually a pretty good answer because everything is relative. Is Tangshan small? Tangshan 小吗? Compared with Beijing, it's small. Tangshan 比北京小. Okay, so there are, when comparing two places, there are other common adjectives you can use in our main pattern. So for example, we have 冷. 冷 is an adjective meaning cold. So if you say 什么地方比什么地方冷, it means a certain place is colder than the other place. So for example, let's say 沈阳比北京冷. 沈阳比北京. Well, since we know the pinyin for Beijing, I'll skip that. 沈阳比北京冷 means Shenyang is colder than Beijing. Okay. Well, we can also use 古老. 古老. 古老 means old or ancient. In particular, any place or any object that's old. So be careful not to use 古老 on people. So let's say 南京比迪拜古老. 南京比迪拜 is Dubai. 迪拜. So 南京比迪拜古老 means Nanjing is older than Dubai. Okay, next one, the next adjective is 拥挤. 拥挤 means crowded. 拥挤. How about 上海比北京拥挤? Even though both cities are pretty crowded, but Shanghai wins this one, so let's put Shanghai first. 上海比 again 北京. 上海比北京拥挤. Shanghai is more crowded than Beijing. Okay, next is the one we know that's in our dialogue. 小 means small. So 什么地方比什么地方小 means certain place is smaller than the other place. Like 唐山比北京小. 比北京小. And the opposite of 小 is 大. Okay, 大 means big. So we talked about 成都比西安大. Chengdu is bigger than Xi'an. So 成都比西安大. And the last one is also what we mentioned before. 雨水多 means rainy. 西雅图比伦敦雨水多. 西雅图比伦敦雨水多. All right, let's go over our adjectives one more time. 什么比什么冷 cold. And 古老 old or ancient. 古老拥挤 crowded. 拥挤小 small. 小大 big. 大 and 雨水多 rainy. Now it's time to review. Do you remember how to say small? xiao. Do you remember how to say Beijing? 京, 北京. And how to say 唐山. Tangshan. Tangshan. Now, do you remember how to say Tangshan is smaller than Beijing? Tangshan 比北京小。唐山比北京小。Do you remember how to say big? Da. Da. And how to say cold?冷.冷. Do you remember how to say rainy? "雨水多。雨水多。Do you remember how to say old? 古老。古老。And do you remember how to say crowded? 拥挤。拥挤。Well done! In this lesson, you've learned how to make basic comparisons in Chinese. That's it for this lesson. Thank you for watching. I'm Yinru, and I'll see you again on ChineseClass101.com. 再见.
Want to speed up your language learning? Take your very first lesson with us. You'll start speaking in minutes and master real conversations. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Just click the link in the description.